I was going to ask you, the next question is, what else do you have in store?
Good question. Well, always have a number of projects to challenge me. So I bought this DM 3000 lathe, Dynametronics lathe, on eBay from a guy in Denver, and my wife and I went up there and got it, and it's in really, really nice shape. It's really clean, but again, it's got an old controller, and the problem, this controller is actually working, but the battery gets drained on it, so it's losing its parameters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip this out, and I'm hoping that Centroid comes out with a nice new controller here in the next couple of weeks that I can convert.
Yeah, rumors are that they're coming out with a step-in direction controller, and I'm as excited as you are to take a look at that.
Yeah, so that's exciting news, because here's a corporation that's coming out with something that I can use with their vast experience. I think it's going to be a good machine. So I'm going to change the stepper motors, put something a little bit more powerful in there, probably go with something with some feedback, and get this thing going. I'm excited about that, because I sometimes I like to build model engines and stuff, steam engines, and there's some of that repetitive work like building studs and things like that this machine will be good for. So that's my plan.
Are you kicking around the idea of using those new ClearPath servos?
Exactly, yeah. I think that's looking pretty intriguing to me.
Yeah, those brushless motors with the driver right on it.
Exactly, and I think they're a little bit more expensive, but everything comes in a nice package. They got the connectors on them and everything. So I think I might do that. I didn't spend a lot of money on this. I got a pretty good deal on it, and so I can afford to spend a little bit more on the retrofit. And as you can see from my machine, I like to do things right.
Yeah.
So I'd sooner spend a couple extra bucks up front and have something that's dependable where I don't have to worry about it. So
why don't we look at the 3D printer that you put together, and we can talk a little bit about that.
Great. Well, like I said, Marty, I'm a junkyard junkie now, and I pick up a lot of stuff. And this piece of equipment here.
What did it start its life out as?
This piece of equipment. These started out as biological pieces of equipment. There was an array of test tubes on here, and this device would have pumps in there to pump drops of liquid into each test tube. So there was a computer in this thing, and that computer would have some sort of a G code that would tell this machine. It had an injection needle, and it would inject liquid into each one of those test tubes.
Yeah.
So I bought these at an auction sale, actually, for really, really cheap. And so when I did that, I'm talking like 10 or 15 bucks a piece. But I knew that it had an XYZ capability.
Yeah, so it was a CNC machine. It's kind of like we talked about earlier. The hardware's already there.
Exactly, and it had really good linear ways, ball bearing linear ways, really good stepper motors. So again, I stripped out the electronics. I haven't tried to sell them on eBay, but they bring about $800–900 bucks.
Wow.
Motherboards on them. And I bought a new control board. It's called the Smoothie Board. And I installed it and wired it, and I was always concerned about what kind of print I was going to get off of this thing, because I have a little bit of play in the Z axis, and so a 3D printer moves really fast and back and forth, and I thought I'd get some shake, but lo and behold, I get some really good prints out of this. This is my test piece. I designed it on my Libre CAD program for 10 millimeters, and it measures almost bang on. Also made some gears.
Yeah.
Let me go and get my flywheel, Marty.
It's really amazing what these things can do.
I designed a flywheel in CAD and printed out a G-code file, and I printed the two halves of the flywheel on this printer, actually, and then I glued them to a match plate, and I'm going to cast these out of brass. So that's my primary mission with this piece of equipment, is I'm going to use it with my foundry to make some parts for hit and miss and hot air engines.
Yeah. So it's a perfect example of the things that are out there that are available to the home hobbyists, and the flywheel, for instance. If you had a small CNC mill, you could actually mill that out of a wood and create a pattern if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
actually, I just helped my friend get his wood router going, and I was able to take this exact same file and run that G-code on his printer, and you can actually machine this whole thing out of off of his printer. This is a little bit faster, I think, and some things that you can do on this that you can't do on subtractive machining. So with additive machining, there are a lot of things that you can do, like overhangs and things like that, you can't do on a milling machine. So that's the practicality of this. But again, this machine, I probably have, let's say $500 invested. But you can't buy a 3D printer that's worth anything for less than about $1,500. And this has got a huge footprint. So that's what I looked at. So it worked really good right out of the box.
Very cool.
Pretty happy with that.
Well, Dan, thanks for giving us a tour of your machinery and going over your Comet CNC mill. I think the thing turned out wonderfully, and I hope that the Centroid Control does you really well for years to come. Thanks.
My pleasure.